I'd like to give a warm welcome to Jenny Goldman, principal of Mount View Elementary School, and Philip Scrivano, who's the director of information technology with Simi Valley Unified School District in California. Welcome. How are you all this afternoon?
Doing well.
Great, great. I'd like to ask a few questions of you all around using Lightspeed instructional audio in the classroom. So, Phil, how long have you all partnered in Simi Valley with Lightspeed?
We started after the site conference almost 4 years ago, and we brought school teachers from Mountain View Elementary School, Jennifer's site, to basically grill our vendors and ask great questions of our vendors. And they brought back 2 products to try out at Mountain View School, and that's where we set a standard for our entire district.
Excellent. So how is it distributed throughout the district now?
For almost the first 2 years, it was at one school, so we could really, kick the wheels, so to speak. And now, because of COVID and reputation of Mountain View Elementary School and feedback from the teachers, we've decided that since teachers are going to come back in some situation have to wear a mask for probably a couple of years, that now we know we have a great product. And the number one demanded item when we do school modernization was to have classroom sound systems put in there. Well, that means that some schools would not get the technology for another 4 to 5 years as we do our 30 school sites. But using COVID funding, we decided to put Lightspeed in over 900 classrooms and have it done before the beginning of the school year. So we're wrapping up that project right now so that as we bring students back to school, which we all want to do real quickly, we will have these sound systems in place.
Great. And so prior to COVID and the CARES Act, what kind of funding were you all using in the district?
Well, that's always the hard part. We use the funding part of my budget, part of Jennifer's budget. We're just committed to this project. And it's hard to get funding initially until it gets a reputation. And then the feedback, we have a technology committee that meets 4 times a year with over 50 teachers from all around the district. And this kept coming back as the number one thing that teachers were wanting based on what they were hearing, the good things about the product.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Jenny, tell us how Lightspeed is in your school's classes right now.
So we first had Lightspeed come, the product come to our class, just like Phil was describing. We did a pilot of the product, and it was hands down, clear winner. The Lightspeed TopCat product was above and beyond preferred. We brought it into our campus at first because we have a deaf and hard of hearing population on campus, and we wanted to see how that product could support our students in the classroom. But then as we were reading about it and then what we saw unfold on campus is that there's a tremendous benefit to all of our students. So having all students have access to that clear audio, it helps students with, I also was an educational psychologist prior to being a principal. So just those cognitive processes are always in my mind to how we can support children. So children with auditory processing issues, which by the way, auditory processing and attention are the primary issues that we see having children getting referred for special education and things like that. Well, we have a product to support them in class now without having to do that. So when kids have access to the full range of sounds in the classroom, kids with auditory processing issues, it comes in loud and clear for them. And in terms of attention, having that teacher voice, no matter where you are in the classroom, having exposure to that teacher voice, it really captures the student's attention. One thing that we found to be huge was the idea that I was talking about having access to sound, having children having full access to the entire sound inventory, like phonetics and things like that. So when a teacher is instructing in the classroom and they're looking at phonics and they're teaching a child, sat, at, well, those soft sounds are you have to be, they can be hard to hear, but you put a mic on, you put the TopCat system in that classroom, then children, if the teacher turns their back like this, and they're writing on the board, if they're doing, or pointing to something, if they're doing that at sound and they're facing away, not all the kids can hear them. But when you have the TopCat system on there, it's loud and clear. So there's a huge, huge difference. I'm not sure if I just went off your topic completely.
No, you gave really good information. Thank you so much, Jenny. You gave great information. Well, let me ask you, Philip, you said that it's distributed throughout the district now. Are they all using the same kind of a product, TopCat, or are they doing a combination of different other products from Lightspeed?
No, that's why we like schools like Mountain View School, that Jenny's the educational leader there. We like to set standards and then have equality across the district. So her teachers, like I said, they use the product. They use 2 different products and evaluated it, and hands down, they wanted to use the TopCat product. So once we made that decision, it was not an easy decision. We took about 1.5 years. And then once we did that, we set that as a standard. So if we're using bond funds or COVID funds, this is the product that goes in. And we're not hearing negativity about it as bigger and bigger project keeps going forward.
That's excellent. So Jenny, for you, if a new teacher comes to your school in the district, and they might be apprehensive about wearing a mic or using it for the classroom, what kind of advice would you give them, or how would you encourage them to use the instructional audio in the classroom?
Well, first, I'll tell you that I've never had a teacher who hesitated because they had heard already how amazing it was to use classroom audio. But I would tell them, I tell them to talk to their colleagues on the campus. First of all, it's easy to use. It's extremely easy to use. And then every single teacher on my campus, hands down, once they had a TopCat in their classroom, even those who were apprehensive at first, some of them said, oh, my voice is loud enough as it is, or I don't really want to have that. They found they absolutely love it because it is that classroom sound is so clear. It does teacher energy. They save a lot of energy as well because, my soft-spoken teachers, having to take that energy to really project out to the students, that's draining for them. And again, you're not guaranteeing that your kids have full access to the sound. But I would have them talk to the other teachers on campus because every single one of them would never go back to not having one in their classroom. We are very passionate about this product. And although Phil said, it took about 1.5 years to make those decisions, for our campus, our teachers, it was like this. We love this product. We want this product. Initial, funding came from different places. But, we were passionate. We want that in every single classroom.
That's great. So Phil, tell us about what you're hearing from teachers and students about Lightspeed audio in the classroom.
Okay, so number one, I get this feedback from K-12 teachers is that when they answer a question for a particular student, they've answered that question for everybody in the classroom. And so since they only have to answer that question one time, they feel that by the end of the day, they've talked almost 50% less. And that's much more healthy for their teacher voice. I used to be a 6th grade teacher myself, and I know a few years out of the classroom, you lose that big, strong voice that you have. But that takes energy. So at the end of the day, as Jenny was talking about earlier, the teacher has more energy, they have more patience. But the main thing is that every student gets the benefit of that teacher. And I myself am hearing impaired, and I had an aha moment before this all started with, I have full inclusion systems. I walked into church one day and they'd installed the new sound system. And when I walked in, my hearing aids went beep, beep, and I had a personal mic to the choir and to the priest. Now I have to pay attention in church. But that aha moment means that students who do have hearing disabilities, and especially if mine are working, it's good to know what it's like for a person that's hearing disabled a little bit, because we rely on lip reading, we rely on body clues. And when Jennifer turned around, yes, not only lost the sound, but I lost a lot of my cognitive ability to hear what she's saying. So when I walk into a classroom today, I can tell the difference in a moment, because not only is the teacher voice amplified, but it's because it's coming from the ceiling, I have an equal ability to hear it as every other student in the classroom. And so for me, I pay more attention, and I can relax and think a little bit more about the content rather than what is she saying. And I think if you take that from a student perspective who now is going to spend 12 years in our program, the education benefit of that is outstanding.
Great.
Absolutely.
Great.
And here you are, an adult, realizing the benefit to that, and thinking about that piece of how you're having to devote. If you don't have something like that in place, you're devoting so much cognitive energy just to trying to hear the information, then you might be hearing it. But so for kids, you have to hear it and process that and make meaning out of those sounds.
Right.
So you have more cognitive energy left to do that.
Exactly. That's great. Did you want to add something, Philip?
Oh, just the fact that, we talk about students with hearing disability, but it's every single student in the classroom that's going to improve that learning environment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I also know you all have a large EL population there in Simi Valley. Jenny, how does that work for those students in the classroom from a hearing and listening perspective?
Sure. Well, first, just like any other child in the classroom, the second language learners, again, they have the full access to the sound inventory, full access to teacher voice, full access to curriculum, content, instruction. But one very specific example I have for you is, so when people are learning, when children are learning a second language, you go through a phase, second language learners go through a phase called the silent phase. And that's when kids are listening, taking in information, making meaning of it, which of course having a sound system like TopCat's in there, that's going to definitely make a huge difference for them. But also having the piece where the children, so they were working in, they work in small groups with either an intervention teacher or a general education teacher or whomever. And they go through a silent phase because they're kind of afraid or embarrassed to talk and make a mistake, right? When you learn a second language. So for example, I've been exposed to tons of Spanish. I hear a lot, I can make meaning of it, but I don't want to speak it because I'm afraid I'm going to sound, well, not so bright. So, but with kids, you hand them one of the microphones, like the student mics that come with, that you can get with the system, or you have a different teacher mic to give to the students. They get so excited and they want to talk. It's like they're on stage. And so what we've really had seen that happen and play out in those groups with our children who are second language learners. They love it, so they will speak. And frankly, that plays out in all the classrooms with all the students. Boy, you give a kid a mic, forget it. They're thrilled.
Thank you guys so much for today and participating in this webcast. We truly appreciate it. We definitely enjoy our partnership through Lightspeed, Instructional Audio in the Classroom. And thank you all for participating today, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much.